Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think the point about diversifying your portfolio is sort of beaten to death. But very few really talk about how do you really measure diversification. I understand the recommendation to diversify, but how do you measure diversification? So let's say you have a portfolio of stocks, mutual funds, and commodities. How do you measure whether that portfolio is actually diversified? So we're going to simplify this. We're going to just talk about one metric that can simply do all of this for you, and that is correlation. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about what correlation is, how can you understand that intuitively, and how can you actually measure this in Google Sheet so that you can just put your stocks out there, you can put your portfolio of assets there and measure correlation of that portfolio. So with that, let's get started. So firstly, correlation is nothing but how two things move relative to each other. Let me try to explain intuitively how we can understand correlation. Let's say I sell an ice cream product. In summers, the sales of this ice cream product would shoot up. In winters, presumably, the sales would drop. So if I'm just selling ice cream throughout, then I may not expect sales to be going up throughout the year, right? There will be seasonal effect. Now assume I also have hot chocolate that I'm selling along with the ice cream product. Then during winters, I can actually sell hot chocolate, and that way I'm selling either an ice cream or a hot chocolate in both winters and summers, right? This is diversification, right? Now let me help you understand what correlation is mathematically. Correlation can take values between -1 and 1. So -1 means the two variables that we are talking about, that for which we are measuring the correlation, they are moving in the opposite directions. So if one is moving up, the other one is moving down. That's what a correlation of -1 exactly means. And if you have assets that are negatively correlated, that is actually good for diversification. If you have two assets which do not have any correlation, that means they have zero correlation, then they are independent to each other. That means if one asset is moving up, that doesn't change anything for the other asset, and vice versa. Similarly, if the correlation is 1, that means the assets are highly correlated to each other or positively correlated. That means if one moves up, the other one moves up as well, and if one moves down, other one moves down as well. So now let's look at correlation with a simple example. I'll share my screen here. Let's say you have two assets, asset A and asset B, and the annual return of asset A is 14%, the annual return of asset B is 12%. Standard deviation or volatility of asset A is 20% and asset B is 15%. Now assume the correlation of these two assets is 0.8, right? Which means they are highly correlated to each other. They are moving potentially in the same direction. Now assume we created a portfolio with 75% of asset A and 25% of asset B. Then your portfolio will have its own variance. It has its own return. In this case, it is 13.5%. And The standard deviation is 18.1% when you actually combine it in that ratio. Now, if you see, this is return upon risk for each asset. Essentially, I'm dividing 14% upon 20%. So that is return upon risk here for asset A, and for asset B it is 80%, and for the portfolio, as you can see, it is 74%. Because they are highly correlated to each other, you're not seeing a significant drop in risk or volatility compared to asset A or asset B. Now, let's assume that the correlation is actually 0.1 instead of 0.8. Here you can see that the volatility has significantly dropped without sacrificing the return so much. So as a result, if you do the return upon risk ratio, you see that it is higher than both asset A and asset B. And if you actually go even further and reduce the correlation even further, or for that matter, let's say they are negatively correlated, and I put minus 0.8 as the correlation, you can see that the standard deviation or the volatility is lesser than asset A and asset B as well, and your return upon risk ratio has actually improved much higher. So here with this example, you can actually see in practice how correlation actually matters to your portfolio. And I also want to quickly show you, if you have different assets in your portfolio, let's say you have different stocks, or you have a large cap, mid cap and small cap mutual funds in your portfolio, and you also have stocks in your portfolio, how you can, through Google Sheets, very easily measure correlation. So here is such example. So here I'm trying to get Goldbees data from 2010 to today, and similarly I'm trying to get Nifty 50 data from 2010 till today. So once you get these close prices for each of these assets, you calculate the daily return of both Goldbees and Nifty 50. So essentially B4 by B3 minus 1 gives you the daily return of Goldbees, and similarly E4 by E3 minus 1 gives you the daily return of Nifty 50. So once you get the daily returns of both these assets, it's just one single formula that gives you the correlation of the portfolio where you have both Nifty 50 and Goldbees. You just take the entire series of Goldbees and the entire series of Nifty 50, and you apply this formula correlation, and that gives you the correlation. So as you can see here, the correlation is minus 0.038, so which is almost negligible. So like I said earlier, if the correlation is nearly zero, then your assets are moving independent to each other. So that's how you can actually measure correlation, and it would be a great idea to actually measure correlation for all the assets that you have in your portfolio and see how diversified your portfolio is. Good luck with that. Thank you.